Zizek talks about this sort of inversion of values in one of his books. Somehow the left has convinced itself that it's actually feminism, inclusiveness, woke, when the U.S. and its allies use imperial warfare against a third world country, when a century ago nobody on the left would have even considered such a thought. Yeah, I don't know where the fuck this comes from. Like, this notion that we're doing woke imperialism is so fucking stupid. You are being played. You are being played, my friend. You, as someone who ostensibly holds on to progressive values, are being fucking played a fool, okay? You're being duped. And they're not even trying hard. They're literally saying, we need to fucking drone them first, okay? We need to destabilize the region. That's significantly better than the Taliban controlling the region and oppressing women that way. It's not the left, it's libs. But liberalism used to have a dove, like a peaceful dove association to it. Liberalism no longer has that. Liberalism now in the United States of America, the Democratic Party, straight up is like, we are fucking on board. As long as you slap a fucking LGBTQ sticker or a fucking BLM sticker on the side, you can bomb whoever the fuck you want, wherever the fuck you want. My non-Monka lib take is American foreign policy experts are actually brain dead. They treat other countries as if their internal power structures aren't real and don't even attempt to look at how we deal with issues in the U.S. between political parties as a way to address problems in foreign countries. The Pashtun have been dominant political power in Afghanistan throughout its history, and the Taliban are their political reps. I mean, I don't think it's idiocy. I think that is being nice. I know for a fact that there were people, even in the Bush administration, that were warning against all of the fucking power struggles that were occurring internally in these countries and what kind of power vacuum that we would create with our presence there. And yet they literally did not fucking listen to those people. And they were like, nah, fuck off. What are you, fucking crazy? No, of course we're going to do whatever the fuck we want to do because that's what makes money. It's how you make money. Okay? That's how you make money for American industries. That's just how it is. It is what it is. Never-ending cycle of violence and war and destabilization makes more money for the American economy. That's why we fucking arm both sides of the conflict and then go, oh my God, I can't believe these guys that we literally fucking trained are now fighting against us and trying to maintain power in the region. But God damn it, they're being so brutal. We have to go back in and be brutal ourselves. Okay? Why do you feel imperialism is a mandatory component of capitalism to deter any likelihood of leftist opposition or help, please? Vladimir Lenin had some really good takes about this. I'm not even kidding. Imperialism is a necessary state for capitalist for capitalist dominance. You might not like Lenin politically or whatever, but it is true. Imperialism is a necessity for capitalism. He wrote an entire book on it. Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. Anyway, Twitch is a bad platform owned by Jeff Bezos. You should make your own instead of working for such a bad human being. No, because I'm a hypocritical secret capitalist, brother. So obviously I'm not going to do that. We're going to continue on with this, but before we continue on with this, look, imperialism is a necessary state for capitalism, but also imperialism is a necessary state for capitalism. Also, 60-second ad breaks at the top of every hour is a necessary state for the Hasanabi broadcast to continue as a contractual obligation. If you'd like to no longer see these ads and have an ad-free broadcasting experience, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or for free. If you think my takes are dog shit, you can subscribe to tell me that in your subscription message. If you think my takes are fucking good, you can subscribe to do that as well. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, how can I do this for free, Hassan? How does that happen? Well, you can do it for free by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Twitch Gaming or Prime Gaming. Subscription a month that you can use. Anyway, here's the fucking ad break now. Sorry, I'm like doing 3 different things at the same time. How much do ad breaks pay you, if you don't mind me asking? I don't know, but it's not about additional funds. If I cared about maximizing my revenue through running ads, I would run a lot more ads. A lot more, and I would just never talk about running the ads. I would just run them, and you would just see them randomly. You can cap me all you want. I've had this conversation a gajillion times. Sorry. Like... Yeah, I never ran a single fucking ad before they were mandatory in my contract, so. Leaving Afghanistan would completely destroy any progress in women's rights. Yeah, I know. They were progressing super hard, dude. Today, women in Afghanistan have a very special place. They're stronger than ever and have achieved what has never been achieved before. They cannot be ignored. They will not be ignored. Fatima Galani, an Afghan women's rights activist and one of the 4 women on the Afghan government's negotiating team, said at a recent Congressional Women, Peace and Security Caucus virtual discussion. Fawzia Kufi, one of the other women of the government's team for talks with the Taliban, recalled that in 2001, when the Taliban government was thrown out of power, I, along with thousands of millions of Afghans, could walk in the streets of Kabul freely without the fear of being whipped or beaten up for what I wear. Now, of course, that changed very quickly because then a second fear added on to my existence as someone living in Afghanistan, and that was, fucking on a day where there were no clouds. That could mean that I could get fucking evaporated with a laser from the sky. That's completely separate, though. Or, I don't know, my door could be kicked in and I could be fucking gunned down in my own house for potentially having a militia member inside. But that's like a different fear. You know what I mean? It's like, fine. No, not a Jewish space laser, you fucking weirdos. I mean like a laser-guided missile. Anyway, you are making up fake shit. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. American involvement in Afghanistan is so brutal, and in other nations is so fucking brutal that in order to cope with that reality that your government that you've been taught to think is like literally the good guys in every fucking story, you can't even comprehend that they could be so bad that the only way to cope with it is by saying, oh, it must not be true. You are literally fucking pushing falsehoods right now. It's fine. It's understandable. You are in the denial stage. You are making up real shit. Anyway. This article is against leaving. This is a CNN article against leaving, okay? Then the important thing for me was not who is in Afghanistan, which superpower is in Afghanistan, the troops of which country in my country. The important thing for me as a human being, I could walk and breathe free, said Kufi, a member of the parliament who has survived 2 assassination attempts, at least one by the Taliban. Afghanistan is transformed and we all have invested blood and treasure to bring Afghanistan to where it is, she said. Yeah. So the problem is with autonomy for women and for marginalized communities in these regions, in this region or in these nations that we are colonizing, okay? The problem is the history of like women's struggle doesn't start in 2001. It doesn't start circa 2001. It oftentimes is much longer. And if you look at countries like Egypt, if you look at countries like Iran, if you look at countries like Iraq, if you look at countries like, shockingly, Afghanistan, you will recognize that women in general were in a significantly better place circa Cold War. Okay? These are all nations that allowed, or as a consequence of the Cold War, created either fascist or ultra conservative militancy, oftentimes egged on or backed by the American government against Russian or USSR involvement and like actual socialist movements that were building up in all of these countries. Okay? Would you recommend the blowback pod for more context in this arena of American involvement in the Middle East? Is still about Iraq, but still, no. You can. I mean, it's straight up fucking copy paste everywhere else. So yes, blowback is brilliant for this, and they have a new one coming out. Friend of the show, Noah Colwyn, who is also a watcher. He might be in here right now. He's a Hasanabi head himself. Has a new one coming out too. I saw an ad, a hashtag ad for blowback, like the second season coming out. Talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, I believe. It's going to be really good. I've had Noah a bunch of times on the show as well. Okay, we can't go back in time, and this is an argument about how to deal with the present. No, you have to understand the involvement that that regional powers have played and why like reactionary movements have blown the fuck up in these countries, because a lot of the arguments is literally like, well, what's going to happen? Like, America is not going to involve itself, and then all of a sudden, Taliban is oppressing women again, or blah blah blah. Like, you make it seem as though there isn't like genuine interest. You make it seem as though there isn't genuine interest internally within these nations, and there isn't like any opportunity for like leftist or progressive movements, grassroots movements, or even leftist militancy to occur in these countries organically. The only reason why leftist militancy or progressive counterforce to like Taliban oppression cannot exist in these countries is literally because of the fucking CIA. Okay? You make it seem as though like Afghan people are just helpless. Okay? You make it seem, and this is unfortunately something that is like, this is like centuries in the making. It's something that like Western nations cannot ever fucking comprehend. No matter how woke you are, you can literally never comprehend that these countries are not monolithic, and there are marginalized communities within these countries that want to uplift themselves, that want to engage in the struggle, and yet they fail to do so because of outside forces that prevent them from gaining momentum, vilifying them, and literally murdering them in a lot of instances. That shit pisses me off, dude. Americans largely think that conservative religious zealotry is not the default state of Middle Eastern countries. Americans largely think that the conservative religious zealotry is not the default state. No, they think it is the default state of Middle Eastern countries, which is ironic because like we have a profound amount of reactionary elements within our politics. Okay, adjusted to the rest of the fucking world. There's a lot of reactionary bullshit that goes on in American politics, like fucking all the trans shit, for example. Okay, I guess Canada is going to invade us now. You know what I mean? Like, it would be like justifying Norwegian invasion because of the way we treat trans people in this country, which is fucking insane. Anyway. Please present President Trudeau. I'm a oppressed trans American. I need you to invade my backwards country and liberate me by vaporizing me with an AC-130. Yeah. This just sounds like a modern white man's burden, room temperature IQ take. I mean, it is. It literally is. The white man's burden and white guilt play a fundamental role in justifying imperialist actions. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that white supremacy would work that way? And anyway, like I was saying, dude, when you look at this shit and when you read this from like, NGOs that have mounted in the region, or like, the specific Afghan spokesperson, spokeswomen that you have tapped to offer these delicious quotes that justify continued American involvement in Afghanistan, and then don't talk about how it's literally the same shit the fucking Mitch McConnell is saying, you're doing a disservice to the public, okay? Where is it? What did he say? I mean, he literally said that, like, where the fuck is it? He straight up talked about how this would roll back women's rights in Afghanistan. Okay? The classic tactic being implied in this article is for the state to find a minority group to hold hostage on the condition of its own continued cruelty. They do this everywhere. Yeah. It's really fucked up. Yeah, I know. Mitch motherfucking, anti-abortion McConnell legitimately cares about women's rights, dude. For straight up. Like, conservatives that would literally love to implement Taliban-style rule in America just by white people and for Christian and white values, okay, white Christian values, turn around and act like they give a fuck about eradicating religious conservatism elsewhere. They don't. It's just a talking point for dumbass liberals to fucking hold on to, because there's a little bit of truth in it, okay? There is, of course, truth to the Taliban oppressing women. Of course there is. That's just religious conservatism. It is a fucking fundamental plank of religious conservatism, no matter where the fuck you go, because religious conservatives are fucking freaks everywhere around the world, okay? You don't hate the Taliban, you hate religious conservatism, or you don't hate Afghani people, you hate religious conservatism, okay? You hate them because of their fundamentalist point of view, their bastardization of religion, or their bastardized interpretation of religion, and how they fucking use that to put pressure on marginalized communities and to subject them to tremendous cruelty and maintain their fucking grip on power. That's literally what conservatives do here in the United States, adjusted to our obvious, cultural values or whatever the fuck, wherever we're at. Okay? It's a little bit different in Afghanistan in comparison to, the United States of America. But this is something that you always have to remember. Anyway. So, there's a lot of people that are, talking about pulling out. Oh, breaking news. Federal prosecutors say no charges will be filed against U.S. Capitol police officer who fatally shot a woman during the January 6th insurrection. Ashley Babbitt, 35, was one of the 5 people who died amid the mayhem. It's kind of crazy that you could just, like, fucking clap someone in the middle of all that and not have any charges filed against you. Like, that's still a fucking civilian that this dude murdered. Sorry. I don't care that if it's, like, literally a fucking insurrection happening. But, motherfuckers, like, dudes were, like, opening up the doors to let these insurrectionists in. And then this other guy fucking blows them away. He was warned beforehand by the Capitol Police who had a gun drawn. Oh, shit. Never mind. I forgot that when you say, stop, I have a gun and I'm going to shoot, as a police officer, that automatically absolves you of any sin. The sin of murdering someone. Dude, it's a very It's a very empathetic point of view to have from you, chatter. When you, you know, operate under the assumption that, like, as long as a cop said that they were going to shoot you, it's fine. She was going to murder the cop, my guy? No, she wasn't. The fuck are you talking about? She didn't even have a gun. The fuck are you talking about? Gonna murder the cop with what? Her fucking bare hands? Love when a lefty community member says, you know, why don't you listen to the police officer's orders? What should he have done in that situation? Not fucking shot them. Like, what happened? How did he survive after he murdered someone? What do you think? Defending terrorists? Fuck yeah, I'm defending terrorists. Okay, there you go. You can clip it all you want. Guys, I'm not defending terrorists. I'm defending my fucking values, okay? Like, I find that really silly. I'm not going to fucking stop from... I'm not going to stop... I'm not going to have a change of heart because the person that the fucking cop literally murdered was some dumbass QAnon conservative who got, like, brainwashed. Chad has a consistent take challenge. Yeah, dude, people get so mad. Literally, more police showed up and took control less than a minute after he did it. It was pointless. He killed her for nothing. 100%. That's what I'm saying. What, you think after he murdered her, all of a sudden everyone dispersed and we're like, oh my God, they're murdering us. Let's get the fuck out of here. No, they still literally stormed. They still kept going in. More cops came in a little bit, moments later and were able to fucking subdue some of the people. That's literally all he should have done in that situation was not fire their fucking weapon and either A, try to subdue someone and detain them without fucking murdering them with a gun, or B, pulled back and waited for reinforcements. Americans, though, cannot comprehend it, and what life would be like in Afghanistan as Biden aims to withdraw. All right, let's take a look.
U.S. troops died after more than 20,000 were wounded, after hundreds of thousands of Afghans were maimed or killed, and after spending $2 trillion. President Joe Biden has decided the United States has seen enough of the war in Afghanistan. Hours from now, he will announce the last remaining U.S. forces still in Afghanistan will be withdrawn by the very symbolic deadline of September 11 this year. But a U.S. exit does not mean an end to the conflict. The country remains on a knife's edge with a weak central government.
Why is this so quiet?
Significant progress which has been made for women's rights may be lost to a resurgent Taliban.
Dude, I find that really fucking stupid, dude. Like, you talk about the casualties, you talk about the price point, you talk about how many people have died on the American side, talk about how many people have died on the Afghan side, and then you turn around and you're like, but women's rights, the progress made for women's rights, like, bitch, that's not the reason why they were in there, and the progress made for women's rights was not even fucking, it was marginal, dumbass. What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
CNN's international security.
They literally are doing the girl boss sweaty. Like, I can't believe they're doing the girl boss sweaty argument, dude. It blows my mind. Woke imperialism.
Mosh is live for us in Kabul, and it's not just women's rights which are under threat here with the resurgent Taliban. It's civil society in itself.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, women's rights are a key tenet of U.S. presence here, something they're always trying to push, but only a fraction of what many in Afghanistan fear they may lose if the United States leaves this war. It's important to characterize it like that, because the war won't end because the U.S. decides to depart. It will just take on a new phase. And Joe Biden has always been, since Barack Obama, where he served as vice president, decided on the surge, has always been in office a man saying that a sustained U.S. presence here wouldn't really bring adequate rewards for the United States.
What a pathetic fucking issue to, like, center around. You know what I mean? Like, women's rights is legitimately important, especially in places like fucking Afghanistan, obviously. and in America as well. But to assume that like American bombs are liberating women is so psychotic. I don't even know how to like. I don't. It feels like they're not even trying. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, we just gotta fucking we gotta do women's rights, bro. That's why we were in Afghanistan, and that's why we gotta stay there.
States, and sadly time has possibly proven him correct, but vast amounts of money have been spent and thousands of Afghan and American and other nations' lives lost in that fight too. That announcement, key in its symbolism, it will make sure, it seems, that the US won't spend 20 full years here in Afghanistan, but it also feeds into a broader strategy about political negotiations. They're trying to get the Taliban to agree to come to a peace conference in Istanbul. Last night, it seemed the Taliban, for the second time in 48 hours, made it clear they didn't seem that keen on attending. This may simply be yet further negotiations, but more broadly, the fact that this departure is set without conditions has many here, I think, concerns that the Taliban may choose to seize on their territorial advantage militarily. The Afghan government, I think it's fair to say, weren't exactly put on the forefront with this decision. President Ghani put out a statement through his spokesperson saying he's...
Dude, why the fuck are people like... Listen, there is a long and comprehensive history of women's rights in Afghanistan on the Wikipedia page. We can go through it point by point. Like, literal fucking kings in the past have offered liberation to women. That doesn't justify a monarchy or a monarchist rule in Afghanistan. Like, we must return to monarchy because, you know, King whatever the fuck in... What's his name? Yeah, King... sorry, guys. Well, King Amanullah Khan attempted to increase women's freedom in between, 1919 and 1929. He made noteworthy changes, so Afghanistan is better off as a fucking monarchy. Like, you would never make that argument. That argument would be so fucking idiotic that everyone would look at that and go, well, that's really stupid. You're a stupid person for making that argument. So why in the ever-loving fuck would you make an argument for American imperialism to claim that like we are advancing women's rights as a consequence of American imperialism?
Still waiting to hear the details on a phone call from President Biden. But all of this is policy. The key question is, what does it mean for Afghans? And we've been taking an in-depth look at a town which many will remember from this long war, Musa Qala, in the southern province of Helmand, and quite what life is like there after years of it being governed exclusively by the Taliban.
If America is leaving Afghanistan after
What the fuck, dude? Okay, I don't think there's any blood, but still, hold on.
nearly 2 decades of blood and
I'm
treasure
just not gonna
lost,
risk it.
what world does the US leave behind for ordinary Afghans? Taliban stronghold Musa Qala is where many American and British soldiers died. Now, it's a snapshot of how the Taliban will run Afghanistan as they gain power.
We asked 6 men living there, 2 on camera, anonymously in safety, what it's like.
In short, bleak for women, a few smartphones, but for all, Taliban justice and Taliban taxes.
There are consequences. If you don't pay, they beat you or imprison you.
A broadly medieval society then, considering all the billions spent. Except just recently, with the odd smartphone allowed. That's how we got pictures of the streets.
Taliban roam the market US Marines once patrolled 10 years ago.
Yeah, what a beautiful sight it was.
The Americans were based here, a location you can see on these satellite images.
Guys, it was a beautiful sight when the American troops liberated the marketplace. I'm telling you.
Not far from the empty shop where the Taliban have their temporary courts, which they call the Room, dispensing swift, brutal justice.
Punishments depend on what the other side wants. If the plaintiff forgives a murderer, the court might not give a death sentence. But if the relatives demand it, they may. For example, around 4 years back, 3 thieves were hanged to death from the electricity pole on the road out of town for people to see. They had been arrested a few times for robbery, but they did not stop.
This footage from a drive around town heads out to the refugee camps by the river, from where US Marines used to get shot at, and it's clear few women are allowed on the streets.
They still don't go to school. Nobody even dares ask about that, we're told. But most men we asked said women had it good. This is what they meant.
They are not allowed to do business outside their house. When they go out, they need to dress according to Sharia law. So for them,
Bro, this is literally a consequence of, again, outside powers, aka the USSR involvement in Afghanistan, creating a situation where the Taliban, fucking as the counterforce to USSR involvement, was seen as like a liberating power against outside intrusion. Okay, America backed the Taliban side in this circumstance. I just want to remind you of what the fuck happened. Okay. Predating this instance, predating the Taliban involvement, women's rights were, and this might come as a shock to you because a lot of people are, you're literally wrong. That's just how Islam is, dude. Oh my God, dude. I'm literally Muslim. Shut the fuck up, dude. Oh my God. I am so much more progressive than you. Shut your stupid fucking mouth, okay? Shut up. Okay. I thought you were non-religious. I'm not religious, but there are plenty of people like me. That's the point I'm trying to make. There are Muslim women that are progressive. Ilhan Omar is a Muslim woman who's significantly more progressive than the average American, for example. She literally wears a hijab and fights for trans rights. Shut the fuck up. Yo, motherfuckers literally are like, nah, dude. I know more than you about how fucking Islam works, bitch, and how Muslim countries work, brother. Why do I know that? Because I watched all the South Park episodes, bro, and I am a moderator on the r/atheist subreddit, brother. I know so much more than you because I've heard 8 fucking anti-Islam ex-Muslims that get literally paid by the same fucking reactionary right-wing groups that pay all of the other people that you're literally conditioned to hate. So now I know more about Islam than you do and about every fucking Muslim person, okay? Jesus Christ. Shut up. Shut up. Turkey's a 99.9 Muslim country, and these white neckbeard leftists are going to tell you how Islam works. Listen, guys. Listen. What I'm trying to describe to you is that women, before the Taliban started taking over and taking more power within Afghanistan, were making significant attempts towards women's liberation in the region. Okay? The Afghan Women's Council is a perfect example of this, an organization under the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan between 1978 and 87, and the Republic of Afghanistan between 87 and 92. Until 1989, the AWC was led by Masuma Esmati Wardak and run by a staff of 8 women. In 1978, the government, led by Nur Mohammed Taraki, gave equal rights to women. This gave them the theoretical ability to choose their husbands and careers. The AWC had around 150,000 members and offices in nearly all the provinces. The AWC provided social services to women in Afghanistan. Fought against illiteracy and provided vocational training in the secretarial, hairdressing, and manufacturing fields. Many feared the sacrificing of the AWC in the national reconciliation talks, which started in 1987. It is claimed that in 1991, around 7,000 women were in the institution of higher education, and around 230,000 girls were studying in schools around Afghanistan. There were 190 female professors and 22,000 female teachers. If you want to stop religious fundamentalism from scorching the entire fucking region, entire MENA region, then you need to stop funding the extremists, okay? You need to stop funding and allowing theocrats from gaining and maintaining power and control over the region because they are ideologically on your side against, I don't know, democratic socialism or whatever the fuck you've decided is the worst thing that can happen. Another thing you can do is stop bombing them, okay? It's kind of fucking hard to progress and gain autonomy when there are thousands of troops that are a colonizing force occupying your lands and literally bombing you all the time? Okay? It's kind of difficult. Change is hard. Especially the struggle of oppressed communities. The struggle for liberation from oppressed communities comes oftentimes with the barrel of a fucking gun. Okay? It's going to take time. It's going to take blood, sweat, and tears. But they can't even get to that point if there is no autonomy. They can't even get to that point if there is never any fucking component. There's no interest, because everyone is worried about the other much larger elephant in the room that is fucking up the entire room. And that elephant is America, okay? If your house is on fire, then you don't care about changing the color of the fucking drapes. There's a video of you making this exact argument like 1 year ago on your IG. Yeah. You think the Middle East is better without any American involvement? Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. Everything I talk about is a rerun. If you've been following my fucking political broadcasting career for the past 10 years, then you know 10 years ago I was saying this shit, and I'm still saying this shit because no one fucking listens to me. At least the room grows a little bit. The fucking room I yell into grows a little larger every fucking day, which is at least like one sign of progress from my point of view. But it's literally always a fucking rerun because, unfortunately, we keep doing the same shit over and over again.
It's more important to take care of their homes than working outside.
Women can also get a rough justice in this backward world.
One woman pleaded guilty for adultery and she has been imprisoned for the last 5 years now. No one knows what will happen to her in the end. The man caught with her was killed by his in-laws for bringing shame to his marriage.
Fighting.
Okay, this makes it really weird when you're literally talking about, like, you know, the bloody justice of like blood laws or whatever. Kandavas in this will. What's the, I don't know what the English word for this is, okay? But like civil, the personal violence enacted by like civil courts, I guess, or religious courts or whatever, the blood feuds. And then you turn around and intersperse that with like actual fucking American military shooting machine guns. Okay, you're like, you know, look at how bad the honor killings are, which is why our liberated force that was there was doing an honorable thing and doing the honor killings themselves.
Is rare here now, and the Americans must just watch from jets or drones above.
In fact, we were told the Taliban only allowed some smartphones in Musa Qala because peace talks meant that US airstrikes there had slowed down. The Americans had been using smartphones to track Taliban fighters.
Taliban rule in these streets means they set taxes from opium harvests or shops, we were told, or ask for bread or clothes for their fighters when in need. But some said feuds between Taliban groups mean people can pay more than once.
Many people have been taken to the Taliban room, locked up for a night or two, or have been beaten up. There are different groups of Taliban. It would be better to have a single authorized official getting tax, but every group tries to take tax for their own pockets. That's one problem for people now.
Life then goes on, much as it did before the Taliban were removed from power after 9/11, with just a lot of Americans and Afghans lost in the battle in between.
And you might be asking yourself, what about the main objective of the United States coming to Afghanistan in the first place nearly 20 years ago, the defeat of Al-Qaeda? Well, they've proliferated around the world, and even here in Afghanistan, a US Treasury assessment dated January the 4th of this year.
I find it really funny that I find it really funny that they basically fucking admitted why the Taliban doesn't want smartphones in the same video where they're like, the Taliban will not let them use smartphones. And then 1 second later, the American involvement in the region tracks smartphone data to bomb them. It's like... What? Wait, why did you literally leave that part in? Just don't mention the second part. It sounds a lot better when you literally don't say it's because American drone strikes are occurring as a consequence of cell phone usage. Like, I guess it doesn't matter. Like, it literally does not matter. It's just like people look at this and go, oh yeah, we are the liberators, baby. So it doesn't matter. Like, if they're a fucking medieval society, what does that say about us? Okay, the leading nation on the fucking planet, the number one baby, number one nation on the planet, literally bombing a fucking medieval civilization. Okay, like, we are the bullies of the playground, beating the shit out of like the disabled kid. Okay, straight up. Like, there's someone who's in fucking crutches. Okay, they've been injured, and we're literally punching them over and over again. No one in their right mind would ever turn around and be like, well, that bully, he's doing the right thing there. Straight up. Yeah, I'm being ableist. You should actually beat the fuck out of the disabled kid in the playground equally as you would with, the other kids. Sorry, I know.
Here says that the Taliban are comfortable. They're growing in Afghanistan, gaining funds under, it seems, some sort of umbrella provided by the Taliban here. Now, there are varying assessments, but you can't really find one that says the al-Qaeda problem here in Afghanistan has been dealt with conclusively. The issue, of course...
In 2001, that disabled kid brought a gun to school? Dude, wait. Why would you think that that's still acceptable then? Okay? Wait, what? You tried to justify the action and you literally failed, dude. What the fuck? Unless you think that 20 years later it's still okay to beat the fuck out of the kid with a disability because he brought a fucking gun to school 20 years ago. And it's not even a fucking one-to-one comparison because that's not what the fucking Taliban did. It's like if the bully gave the gun to the kid, okay? And then the kid was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I just brought this gun to school. And then they were like, oh my God, he's got a gun. Beat him for 20 years. Murder his fucking family.
Is the details. We'll hear more from President Biden in the hours ahead. And the key question is, how does this play into the peace process? Most people believe, who study the Taliban, that they possibly do want to see some kind of negotiated settlement because they want legitimacy of being part of an internationally recognized government for one reason, to keep aid money coming in. Because with governance comes responsibility, comes the need to feed people, infrastructure, things like that Afghanistan's already struggling with. Importantly, the peace process is seems to diverge on two tracks. The Afghan government, it seemingly at times it looks like on the sidelines when it comes to how the Biden administration's handling this. They want to see elections first that they won't run in. President Ghani says he won't run in, and then a transitional government. But the US and the Taliban, it seems, on the few things they share an opinion of, want to see a transitional government first, and then...
It shouldn't be forgotten that both the PRC and the USA supported forces that destabilized the region in the Soviet-Afghan war. It's not as black and white as so-called anti-imperialists say about geopolitics. I don't think it's black and white either.
Elections, that has to be resolved quick, or we won't see much progress in Istanbul. But utterly vital, really, are the details from President Biden, and the key part of...
Remember, the Taliban... created as an offset of the Mujahideen that the American government literally armed, were considered heroes, liberating Afghanistan from the horrific Soviet scourge, okay? When we gave them motherfucking weapons and training, they were the heroes, okay? They were the fucking heroes, boys. I'm just saying, like... It's wild. Like, how did they gain power? How did they gain so much power? How did that happen? I don't know.
of this message that the US is going regardless before September the 11th, possibly even a little bit before. I have to warn you, we've heard similar noises from the previous occupant of the White House, Donald Trump. We're still here, and even Barack Obama made noises about wanting to bring everybody home as well. Still, US troops are here, but I have to tell you, Joe Biden probably has the most experience of this country, all the previous occupants of his position, and he's very clear, and always has been, he doesn't think America should have been here this long, and he wants out now. That's what we hear later on today. John?
Nick, thank you. Nick Payton-Ross, live in Kabul.
I'm confused about this video. Are they showing how bad it is right now and trying to say we can leave because look at how much better we made it? It's a little confusing because you can't really fucking show how great Afghanistan is doing because they're not doing great. So kind of hard to make that point. You know what I mean? So what would have happened without U.S. intervention? Genuinely asking, with the Soviets taking over? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck would have happened. I don't know. Also, what this has to do with women's rights? Nothing. It's just women's rights, once again, is being used as a talking point to justify never-ending warfare for liberals who are going to come into my chat and be like, it's actually fucking girl boss shit to, you know, continue drone striking Afghanistan. It's just virtue signaling. That's all it is. Come on, guys. It's only been 20 years. I don't know why people are fucking freaking out over this. Like, you know, guys, 22 is the perfect number. That's when liberation comes. Liberation comes on the 22nd year of imperialism. Okay? You just didn't literally want to wait for the 22nd year. It's kind of fucked up. Honestly, it is kind of fucked up. Aren't you virtue signaling too? What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, the virtue that I'm signaling is that American involvement in imperialism in general is bad, and that we should allow nations and marginalized communities within nations to liberate themselves, okay, rather than fucking everything up. So yes, if that's something that you consider to be a virtue signal, then yes. The former director of the CIA, Robert Gates, stated in his memoirs that the American intelligence services began to aid the Mujahideen in Afghanistan 6 months before the Soviet intervention. Sorry, I don't know why the music is running in the background. Hey! Oh, what are you doing? Why are you fucking interfering in Afghanistan business? In this period, you were the national security advisor to President Carter. You therefore played a key role in this affair. Is this correct? Brzezinski says, yes. According to the official version of history, CIA aid to the Mujahideen began during 1980. That is to say, after the Soviet army invaded Afghanistan on December 24th, 1979. But in reality, closely guarded until now is completely otherwise. Indeed, it was July 3rd, 1979 that President Carter signed the first directive for secret aid to the opponents of the pro-Soviet regime in Kabul. Like Gabagool. At that very day, I wrote a note to the president in which I explained to him that in my opinion, this aid was gonna induce a Soviet military intervention. You know, they would do violent means to retaliate. Despite this race, you were an advocate for this covert action, but perhaps you yourself desired the Soviet entry into the war. It wasn't quite like that. We didn't push the Russians to intervene, but we knowingly increased the probability that they would. When Soviets justified their intervention by asserting that they intended to fight against the secret U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, nobody believed them. However, there was an element of truth to this. You don't regret any of this today? Forget what? The secret operation was an excellent idea. I had the effect of drawing in Russians into the Afghan trap, and you want me to regret it? The day that the Soviets officially crossed the border, I wrote to President Carter essentially, we now have the opportunity of giving the USSR its Vietnam War. I can't wait for the New York Times article about you being freightophobic as well as anti-Italian American. Retaliate, more like redoing Italian hate. Sad. Dude, this is... Listen, I want it to be like this, okay? This back and forth is perfect. This is a good... We're on a good roll here. When chat is just like actually being funny, when they're not trying to trigger me. This is my favorite part of the fucking broadcast. What do you have against Italians? It really doesn't bother me. Just curious. You just jealous of Italians? 100%, dude. Best cuisine on the planet, pound for pound. You know it's a good plan when your model is the Vietnam War? I mean, they were trying to Vietnam War the USSR, which was low-key kind of, you know. It's the funnier part about that is that you recognize that the Vietnam War was a massive drain on resources, manpower, largely unpopular and completely unsuccessful, and then try to do that, try to bait your enemies, your foreign adversaries into doing the same thing that you did willingly originally, not that many years ago. Anyway, the U.S. just wanted to make sure the U.S. started not getting any FOMO. What a good friend. Yeah. We now have the opportunity of giving the USSR its Vietnam War. Indeed, for almost 10 years, Moscow had to carry a war that was unsustainable for the regime, a conflict that brought about the demoralization and finally the breakup of the Soviet Empire. And neither do you regret having supported Islamic fundamentalism, which has given arms and advice to future terrorists. What is more important in world history, the Taliban or the collapse of the Soviet Empire? Some agitated Muslims or the liberation of Central Europe and the end of its Cold War. Nonsense. It is said that the West is global policy in regards to Islam. That is stupid. There isn't global Islam. Look at Islam in a rational manner. Without demagoguery or emotionalism, it is the leading religion in the world with 1.5 billion followers. But what is there in common among fundamentalists Saudi Arabia, moderate Morocco, militarist Pakistan, and pro-Western Egypt, or secular Central Asia? Nothing more than what unites Christian countries. I mean, the last part is fucking both right and wrong. The united like ideology between Muslim nations is their overwhelming hatred for Western imperialist endeavors that have destabilized their countries and killed their friends and family, But beyond that, there is no unified ideology under Islam. It's just that anti-imperialism oftentimes creates a lot of people that happen to live in fundamentalist reign and under the oppression of fundamentalist regimes to hate America because they see America as the reason for why they have fundamentalist regimes to begin with, which he fucking admitted to. Religious people hate America because they hate America for murdering their fucking friends and family. Okay, fundamentalists hate America for murdering their friends and family with drone strikes and shit. Progressive people hate America because they see their friends and family also being murdered, their region also being destabilized, just like the other people do. But then also on top of that, they can't even fucking launch a significant opposition or any sort of like genuine opposition to the